Part 1. The puzzle that doesn't fit when life feels out of sync. There is something strangely haunting about watching someone try to force a puzzle piece where it clearly doesn't belong. You can sense their frustration. Their hands tremble slightly. Their eyes scan back and forth between the piece and the space. But no matter how hard they press, it won't click into place. The image remains incomplete. This is what Spirit showed me for Scorpio as we approach the end of May. And as someone who has studied astrology for decades, I can tell you this vision is more than a metaphor. It's an omen, a sacred message disguised in symbolism. Scorpio, you have been trying to complete a masterpiece in your life, whether it's your career, your relationships, or your soul's purpose. You've been working hard, tirelessly, attempting to make it all make sense. You have the vision. You see the big picture in your mind. You know where you want to go, but some pieces just aren't fitting, and deep down, you know why. You are not failing. You are evolving. The inner friction, you know it's time, but you're not ready. There comes a time in every Scorpio's life when the universe nudges, then pushes, then shoves them toward transformation. You're a fixed sign, born under the element of water, but you are not here to stay stagnant. Scorpio's true power lies in evolution. Death, rebirth, reinvention. These are not just dramatic themes in your life. They are your spiritual curriculum. So why, then, are you hesitating? Let me share a story. A close Scorpio friend of mine, Maya, worked for nearly a decade in a high-profile marketing firm in Chicago. She was respected, well-paid, and climbing the ladder. But every time she got a promotion, she felt more hollow inside. She couldn't explain it. Her boyfriend told her to be grateful. Her family was proud. But late at night, she stared at her ceiling, wondering why none of it clicked. One day, she walked past a small Buddhist meditation center on her lunch break. Something pulled her in. Within 6 months, she quit her job, broke up with her partner, and moved to Bali to study holistic healing. Some called her crazy. I called her a Scorpio, finally answering the call of her soul. Magnifying glass tilted left the puzzle piece that doesn't belong. What's happening to you right now may not be as dramatic as Maya's story, but the energy is the same. You're at the edge of a cliff, holding on to puzzle pieces that once mattered, but no longer fit who you are becoming. It could be a relationship that once felt like destiny, but now feels like a chain. It might be a job that once gave you purpose, but now drains your spirit. It could even be an identity you've outgrown, the version of you that played it safe, stayed loyal, or kept the peace. Scorpio, the message is clear. You are trying to force a life that no longer matches your vibration. And the harder you push, the more misaligned you feel. Sometimes, you have to walk away from a nearly completed puzzle and start over with a new picture in mind. Compass, why this message now? The reason this message is coming now, during the last week of May, is because energetically, you're entering a threshold portal. The astrology is aligning for you to release, renew, and rebirth. Jupiter's shift is stirring your long-range vision. Pluto, your ruling planet, is urging you to purge illusions and take control of your future. But before you leap into June's possibilities, Spirit is asking you to pause. Ask yourself, what am I clinging to out of fear rather than love? What no longer fits my spirit? What dream have I been trying to salvage that needs to be released? Herb lesson of part 1. You are the puzzle maker, not just a piece. You're not here to fit into someone else's image of life. You're here to design your own. That puzzle you've been struggling with? Maybe it's not yours to finish. Maybe it was someone else's vision, a partner's plan, a parent's expectation, a younger version of yourself. Scorpio, you don't need to force the fit. You are ready to create a new picture, one that aligns with your truth, not your past. So take a breath, let go of that old puzzle, and honor the wisdom that whispers, "This no longer belongs to me. I am ready for something more." Shall I move forward with part 2? The Hermit and the Path of Solitude. When you're being called to outgrow now on? Scorpion part 2. The Hermit and the Path of Solitude. When you're being called to outgrow. There's a strange silence that surrounds the hermit. Not an emptiness, but a sacred stillness. It's the sound of growth and progress, of deep reflection echoing within your bones. And in the context of this Scorpio message, the Hermit isn't just a tarot card. It is a stage in your soul's transformation. You've likely felt it already. The pulling away, the craving for distance, the desire to be alone, not because you're antisocial, but because you're outgrowing what once surrounded you. Candle the Hermit's Lantern. Why Scorpio must step away to see clearly. The Hermit doesn't disappear to escape life. He retreats to see it more clearly. And for Scorpio, this retreat is often triggered by emotional overload, when the weight of the world no longer resonates with your inner truth. As a fixed water sign, you absorb energies like a sponge. You know when a room changes before anyone says a word. You feel when someone's words don't match their energy. You intuit what's about to go wrong, even when it hasn't happened yet. This is your power, and it's why solitude becomes sacred. Let me tell you about Elijah, a Scorpio man in his early 40s who spent his life being the backbone of his family. He took care of everyone, paid the bills for his sister, listened to his mother's late-night fears, supported a wife who never supported him back. But one morning, he woke up and realized he hadn't heard his own voice in years. He packed a single bag and took a solo road trip across the American Southwest. No plan, no GPS, just desert, silence, and soul-searching. He told me, for the first time in my life, I didn't need to be needed. I just needed to be myself. That's the hermit energy. Snake outgrowing the skin you've lived in. There's something ancient about Scorpio's transformation process. Like a snake shedding its skin, you must let go of what no longer serves. But unlike most signs, you resist this process, not because you don't want to grow, but because you value depth and loyalty. You stay longer than you should. You try harder than most. You feel responsible for everyone's happiness. But what if your growth demands isolation? What if the next version of you is only accessible alone? This is where the hermit's path becomes necessary. Because while others see solitude as a void, you see it as a sanctuary, a place to connect with your own wisdom, your ancestors, your spiritual guides, and your future self. Brain the fear of leaving familiar things behind. So why do Scorpios struggle with the hermit's call? Because solitude means detachment, and detachment feels like abandonment, especially when you've poured your soul into something. But Spirit is not asking you to abandon people. It's asking you to return to yourself. You might be feeling this now. A job that once inspired you now feels suffocating. A relationship that once felt magnetic now feels misaligned. A lifestyle that once brought comfort now feels restrictive. These aren't signs of failure. These are invitations to evolve. Scorpio, Spirit is saying, you are not meant to remain where you are. You are not meant to repeat old cycles. You are not meant to dim your light to keep others warm. Crystal ball clarity is born in stillness. Here's a truth few understand. Scorpios don't just seek silence, they transform in it. In the stillness of the hermit's cave, you will hear your intuition speak louder than any friend. Understand the lessons hidden in your pain. Discover that solitude does not mean loneliness. In fact, the hermit teaches you how to become your own guide, your own healer, your own sanctuary. You will not find your next chapter in the noise of the world. You will find it in the quiet certainty of your soul. Man in Lotus Position lesson of part 2. Walk alone, so you can return whole. You were never meant to stay small, Scorpio. And this phase of withdrawal is not a punishment. It's preparation. Just like the moon retreats to darkness before becoming full, you too must go within before you expand outward. So honor your hermit season. Say no without guilt. Take space without shame. Disconnect to reconnect with yourself. Because when you return, when you re-emerge from this sacred solitude, you'll carry the light of truth, and no one will ever dim it again. Scorpion Part 3. Outgrowing your old life. When the soul outpaces the body. Have you ever walked into a room that once felt like home, only to feel like a stranger? That's not nostalgia. That's growth. And Scorpio, you're living in that moment now. Your soul has evolved, but your environment hasn't caught up. Your consciousness has expanded, but the world around you still expects you to play small. You've outgrown your old life, and now, your spirit is demanding a new skin, seedling the spiritual discomfort of expansion. Growth isn't always glorious. Sometimes it's painful, like wearing a shirt 2 sizes too small. You can still breathe, but just barely. And that's exactly what many Scorpios are feeling as May comes to a close. It's not that something is wrong with your life. It's that it no longer fits who you're becoming. Let me tell you about Sophia, a Scorpio woman in her early 30s. She spent years chasing the perfect life. She got married young, had a beautiful child, owned a house in a quiet suburb. From the outside, it was picture perfect. But inside, her soul was suffocating. I felt like I was living in someone else's dream, she told me. It took years and lots of guilt for her to admit that the life she built no longer served her soul. Today, she runs her own spiritual coaching business and travels the world with her son. She's not running away from her past. She's just no longer trapped in it. Scorpio, like Sophia, you're being asked to choose. Stay safe in a version of life that no longer reflects your spirit, or leap into the unknown and trust your soul's vision. DNA, you've changed, even if others haven't. Here's the tricky part. When you grow internally, but your world remains static, everything feels off. Conversations feel shallow. Places feel confining. Even your favorite hobbies lose their spark. That's not depression. That's awakening. The people around you may say you're moody, distant, or too intense. But what they don't understand is that your vibration has shifted. You're tuned into a different frequency now. And when your soul outpaces your surroundings, the misalignment creates friction. You start craving deeper connections, more meaningful work, authentic conversations, freedom to explore your truth. Scorpio, this friction is not meant to break you. It's meant to push you toward transformation. Spiderweb the web of loyalty that keeps you stuck. One of Scorpio's greatest strengths is loyalty. But when misplaced, it becomes a trap. You stay in friendships that drain you because you remember who they used to be. You stay in jobs that underpay you because you don't want to seem ungrateful. You stay in relationships that stifle you because you once loved who they were. But love is not a life sentence. Scorpio, just because something was good once doesn't mean it still is. Just because someone was your soulmate 5 years ago doesn't mean they are today. You are allowed to outgrow people. You are allowed to walk away from what no longer nourishes you. You are allowed to choose yourself. The fire inside you is rising. You've been feeling it, haven't you? That burn inside. That subtle but persistent urge to move, create, break free, start over. That's not impulsiveness. That's evolution in motion. You're not being reckless. You're being reborn. And yes, it's scary. Starting over means saying goodbye. It means walking away from the comfort of what you know into the chaos of the unknown. But here's the truth. The longer you wait, the more painful it becomes. The longer you deny the call, the louder it screams. The boat is already at the dock, Scorpio. Spirit is urging you to get on board, even if you don't know where it's headed yet. Compass lesson of part 3. When you outgrow, you must outmove. Scorpio, your soul is not here to stay stagnant. It's here to experience cycles of death and rebirth. You were not born to shrink. You were born to shed. So ask yourself, what have I outgrown but still cling to? Where am I pretending to be comfortable when I'm actually confined? Who am I becoming? And what is that version of me asking me to leave behind? Growth is not always graceful. Sometimes it's messy, emotional, loud, but it's always worth it. So walk forward, even if it hurts, because what's ahead of you will feel more like home than anything behind you ever did. Scorpion Part 4. The energy of hesitation. What's holding you back from boarding the ship? The ship is here. You've seen it. You felt its pull. It's docked quietly at the edge of your consciousness, waiting to take you towards something greater. And yet, you hesitate. Why? That single moment of hesitation, that pause between knowing and acting, is where many Scorpios find themselves now. Standing on the metaphorical shore, watching the future beckon, but anchored by fears, doubts, and invisible threads of attachment. Anchor why you're not stepping onto the boat, even though you want to. There is a part of you that knows what must be done. You've outgrown where you are. You're feeling called to leave, to change, to leap. But the truth is, growth isn't just about vision. It's also about detachment. And detachment is Scorpio's Achilles heel. Let's be real. You don't just form connections, you bind. You imprint your energy onto people, places, memories, and dreams. You don't kinda love. You dive all the way in. So when it's time to walk away, even from something that no longer fits, it can feel like amputating a part of your soul. And that's where the hesitation comes from. What if I regret this? What if I'm wrong? What if I never find better? Let me tell you about Darius, a Scorpio I coached who stayed in a toxic relationship for years. He knew it was over. His intuition screamed it. His body ached from the stress. But he couldn't let go. When I asked him why, he said, because leaving would mean I wasted all those years. But here's the truth. Staying wastes the rest of your life. Scorpio, Hesitation is not wisdom. It's often fear wearing a mask. Crystal ball, the emotional tug of war. Have you ever been in that strange emotional limbo where part of you is excited for change and the other part is terrified of it? That's where many Scorpios are living right now. You're being shown a new opportunity, maybe in career, love, spiritual purpose, but you're afraid to embrace it fully because doing so requires letting go of something you once held sacred. It's not easy to release. A partner who no longer sees your worth. A job that no longer fuels your growth. A community or family structure where you no longer feel safe. You may feel torn, like you're betraying someone, or worse, betraying your old self. But transformation always begins with truth. And the truth is, you cannot become who you're meant to be by staying who you were. Water wave, the water is calling, but you're still holding the dock. Let's talk about energy. Right now, your spirit is vibrating at a higher frequency than your circumstances. And this gap is creating energetic dissonance. You feel irritated for no reason, restless even when life is fine, quietly desperate for something more. This is spiritual friction. It's what happens when the soul says yes, but the body says not yet. Scorpio, that not yet is costing you time, peace, and alignment. It's like holding onto the dock with one hand while the other hand reaches for the boat. Eventually, you either have to let go or you'll be torn apart. Ship, what awaits you if you board the ship? Here's what Spirit wants you to know. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it's uncertain. But this ship was sent for you. It's not a random opportunity. It's a soul contract, a karmic invitation to evolve. And what awaits you on the other side? Clarity, sovereignty, joy that doesn't require you to shrink or perform. People who meet you where you're at, not where you used to be. The ship won't take you away from yourself. It will take you back to yourself. Compass lesson of part 4. Don't let the past guilt you out of the future. You're not betraying anyone by choosing yourself. You're not selfish for wanting more peace, more growth, more authenticity. You're not too much. You're just finally aligned. So the question becomes, will you keep watching the ship, or will you finally step on? Scorpio, the longer you hesitate, the harder it becomes. But every moment of clarity is a door, and this is yours. Step through it. Honor the version of you that's ready for more. Release the version of you that's still afraid. Because on the other side of hesitation is liberation. Scorpion part 5. The power of intuition, reading what's not spoken. Scorpio, you were born under the sign of depth. You don't just hear words, you read vibrations. You don't just listen to stories, you decode silences. You're one of the few signs that understands. Truth is rarely spoken. It's felt, it's sensed, it's seen in what's left unsaid. And right now, your intuition is louder than ever. You may not have physical proof. You may not have a confession, but you know. You know when someone's smile is hiding resentment. You know when something feels off in a conversation. You know when energy shifts before anyone else can name it. This isn't paranoia. This is your power. Brain, the emotional intelligence of a Scorpio. While other signs rely on logic, you've been gifted with energetic sight. You see beneath the surface. You feel beyond the words. You instinctively understand motives, masks, and manipulation. Let me tell you about Nina, a Scorpio nurse I once met. She worked in a hospital ward and always knew which patients were about to decline, even before the doctors noticed anything on the charts. I don't know how I know, she said. I just feel it. There's a shift, a shadow, and I trust it. And she was right. Every time. That's what makes Scorpio such a powerful force. Not only do you sense danger, but you also sense dishonesty, disconnection, and disalignment. Even if someone swears they're okay, even if a relationship looks perfect on paper, even if a job should be fulfilling, if it doesn't feel right to you, it's not. Magnifying glass tilted left, what you're sensing right now. Lately, your radar's been buzzing. You might not have all the facts, but your body is giving you clues. That relationship that feels like it's drifting, you're not imagining it. That friend who's distant, even though they haven't said a word, your soul sees it. That job opportunity that looks good but feels off, trust that. You don't need to justify your intuition to anyone. It's not irrational. It's ancestral. Scorpio, you're not just connected to the physical realm. You're wired into emotional undercurrents, generational patterns, even spiritual truths others can't see. And when your intuition screams, "This is wrong," you must listen. even if you can't yet explain why. Brick the wall of secrets, what others aren't telling you. Here's something few will admit. Most people are afraid of how much you see. They know you're watching. They know you sense what they hide. They know they can't fake it around you for long. Some will distance themselves, not because of what you did, but because of what you see in them. Others will try to gaslight you, dismiss your intuition, or spin lies to keep you confused. But Scorpio, your soul is allergic to dishonesty. It may take time, but the truth always floats to the surface, and you're always the first to catch it. Lightbulb, don't try to fix what you know is broken. This is the hard part. Even when your intuition reveals the truth, you often try to fix it. You give second chances. You explain away red flags. You hope people will grow, evolve, meet you halfway. But some connections cannot be healed. Some paths must end. And as painful as it is, Scorpio, this is the season of discernment. Spirit is asking you to trust your knowing. Stop second-guessing your gut. Release what you already know is misaligned. You don't need an apology to move on. You don't need proof to let go. Your inner knowing is enough. Person in Lotus Position lesson of Part 5. Trust the truth you can't yet prove. Scorpio, your intuition is your compass. It's not here to explain. It's here to guide. And the more you trust it, the more precise it becomes. So when something feels off, even if the world says otherwise, trust your gut. Because often, what isn't spoken speaks louder than words ever could. Scorpion Part 6. Letting go of what you can't fix, when love or loyalty becomes a trap. Scorpio, you are one of the most fiercely loyal signs in the zodiac. When you love, you commit. When you bond, it's not casual, it's cosmic. But what happens when the very qualities that make you powerful also become your prison? This is the hard truth many Scorpios are facing now. You are holding on to something broken, not because you don't see the cracks, but because your heart refuses to walk away from what you once believed in. Magnet, the trap of emotional investment. Let's talk about one of Scorpio's deepest struggles, emotional debt. You've invested time, love, energy, tears, forgiveness, so much of yourself, into someone or something that no longer gives back. But walking away now feels like forfeiting everything you've built. So you stay, you wait, you try to fix it, you reshape yourself, you shrink, you sacrifice. But here's the truth. Loving harder won't fix what's fundamentally misaligned. You can't pour life into something that's already spiritually dead. You can't carry both your healing and their resistance. And most of all, you're not responsible for their transformation. Fire love shouldn't burn you to the ground. Let me share the story of Malik, a Scorpio father who stayed in a crumbling marriage for the sake of his children. He kept justifying the toxicity. She wasn't always like this. I don't want to break the family. Maybe if I change more, things will get better. But nothing did. He eventually realized the home was already broken. The only question was whether he'd keep himself shattered inside it. When he finally left, his peace returned. His children thrived. And he said, I was trying to fix the picture instead of protecting the person inside the frame. Scorpio, sometimes staying isn't love. Sometimes it's self-abandonment in disguise. You can't fix people who don't want to change. Your loyalty is legendary, but it must have boundaries. If you keep trying to fix, the partner who constantly lies, the friend who always drains you, the job that kills your joy, then you become a prisoner of your own compassion. You're not weak for wanting to help. You're not naive for believing in people. But Spirit is saying clearly now, they have to want it for themselves. And some never will. You can't carry someone across a bridge they refuse to walk. You can't be the solution to someone who clings to their problems. Brick, why you stay too long. There are reasons behind your resistance to letting go. Fear of being alone. Fear of starting over. Fear of wasting the past. But the truth is, Scorpio, you are already alone in that connection. You are already carrying everything on your back. And staying is what wastes your potential, not leaving. You were not made to suffer in silence for the sake of loyalty. Your soul deserves liberation, not martyrdom. Eagle, what letting go really means. Letting go is not failure. It's not weakness. It's not betrayal. Letting go is an act of courage, a declaration of self-worth, a spiritual pivot toward alignment. It means saying, I've done all I can. Now I choose me. Letting go doesn't erase the love. It just honors your own healing more. Compass lesson of Part 6. Your loyalty shouldn't be a life sentence. Scorpio, it's time to redefine loyalty. Loyalty doesn't mean staying in pain, enduring disrespect, sacrificing your joy for someone else's comfort. True loyalty includes being loyal to yourself. So if you're stuck in a place where nothing's changing, despite your best efforts, it's not time to try harder. It's time to let go. Because when you stop trying to fix what's broken, you finally create space for what's meant for you to arrive. Scorpion Part 7. The Queen of Swords awakens. A Scorpio's moment of clarity. There comes a time in every Scorpio's journey when emotion must bow to clarity, when the heart, heavy with loyalty, finally listens to the sharp whisper of truth. That time is now. The Queen of Swords energy is rising in you. She is not cold. She is not cruel. She is clear. And for a Scorpio, clarity is power, because once you see the truth, you can no longer unsee it. From empath to empress. When Scorpio stops explaining and starts reclaiming. You've spent years trying to explain your pain. You've given endless chances. You've absorbed the silence, endured the inconsistency, justified the imbalance. But the Queen of Swords doesn't do that. She doesn't beg. She doesn't chase. She observes, decides, and cuts away what no longer belongs. This is the evolution of Scorpio, from wounded healer to sovereign truth-bearer. Dagger, the sword of truth, cuts through illusion. Let me tell you about Camille, a Scorpio writer who spent years in a one-sided collaboration with someone she deeply admired. She handled 80% of the work, but her partner took 50% of the credit. She made excuses for him. He's going through a lot. He's not great with deadlines. We've been through so much together. But one day, she opened their shared document and realized she was writing his dreams, not her own. That moment of truth was swift and irreversible. She ended the partnership the next day. Her voice returned. Her writing flourished. She said, "I stopped watering a garden that never grew flowers for me." Scorpio, you are at that same threshold. You're beginning to see the difference between potential and reality. Magnifying glass tilted left the truth about the people holding you back. Sometimes, the people we love are not evil. They're just unwilling to grow. And when you stay loyal to their stagnation, you slow your own expansion. Scorpio, someone is holding you back. It might be a partner who lacks vision, a friend who drains your light, a mentor who sees your power but fears your independence. But here's the secret. They are not the real problem. Your attachment to their version of you is. The Queen of Swords severs that cord. She doesn't wait for closure. She becomes it. Brain, the logic of letting go. For a sign ruled by emotion and intensity, logic may seem unnatural. But right now, it's your sword. Logic is what frees you when love becomes a leash. So ask yourself, is this person helping me grow or keeping me small? Does this situation inspire me or exhaust me? Am I being true to who I am or who they need me to be? If the answer leaves your chest tight and your gut clenched, you already know. Crown Queen energy is unapologetic. The Queen of Swords doesn't apologize for her clarity, her boundaries, her silence, her decision to walk away. She doesn't rage. She doesn't explain. She executes what is necessary. And Scorpio, this is your sacred mirror. You've done the feeling. You've done the forgiving. Now it's time to do the cutting. Because no one else will protect your peace like you can. Compass lesson of Part 7. The truth will set you free, but first it will cut. Scorpio, don't be afraid of your clarity. It's not cruel. It's not cold. It's clean. It's the first breath of truth after years of holding your breath. So let your queen rise. Let her speak. Let her move. Let her end what needs ending. Because on the other side of that sword is space. Space for new love, new joy, new power, and new versions of you. Scorpion Part 8. Building alone. The grit, the grind, and the gift of isolation. There's a silence in the soul of Scorpio that others often misinterpret. They call it aloofness. They label it detachment. But what they don't see, what they can't understand, is that this silence is sacred. Because when everyone else seeks validation from the crowd, Scorpio builds alone. And in that isolation, something extraordinary is born. Hammer and wrench when the vision is yours alone to build. Scorpio, you have a vision. It may not be fully formed, it may not have all the details yet, but it's calling you. A life, a business, a relationship, a destiny. And for too long, you've been trying to drag others along into that vision, hoping they would catch the fire, hoping they'd meet you halfway. But they don't. They can't. Because this part of the journey wasn't meant to be shared. Like the Queen of Swords in the previous part, you've reached a point where collaboration has become a liability, and solitude has become your strength. Man climbing the grid of doing it yourself. Let me tell you about Leo, a Scorpio entrepreneur who spent years trying to build his dream with 2 childhood friends. He believed in loyalty. He believed in shared success. But no matter how hard he worked, they showed up late, missed deadlines, and lacked the hunger. One night, frustrated, he stayed up alone and rebuilt their website from scratch. He redesigned the brand, rewrote the copy. The next morning, he quit the partnership. Today, his solo business earns 6 figures monthly, and no one can take that away from him. He said, "I stopped waiting to be understood. I just started building." Scorpio, that's your path now. Not because you're unlovable, not because you can't work with others, but because your vision is not up for compromise. Briefcase when they sleep on you. Wake yourself up. Some people are sleeping on your potential. A boss who overlooks your effort. A partner who dismisses your ideas. Friends who laugh at your ambition. But their blindness is not your burden. Your calling is not their concern. The truth is, no one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you the life you crave. You're going to have to build it with your own hands, with your own mind, and most importantly, with your own fire. And yes, it will be lonely at times, but the peace you'll feel will be worth every tear. Brick by brick, you reclaim yourself. This is where the real work begins. Waking up early for a dream only you understand. Creating something no one asked for, but everyone needs. Detaching from those who don't cheer for you. Believing in yourself even when no one claps. This is spiritual maturity. This is Scorpio in warrior form. The grit, the grind, the solitude, it's not punishment. It's the cocoon from which the next version of you will emerge. Glowing star, what isolation truly gives you. When you stop outsourcing your value. When you stop waiting for them to believe in you. When you finally say, "This is mine to build." You reclaim your power, your time, your vision, your peace. You become unstoppable. Because there is nothing stronger than a Scorpio who has learned to stand alone. Not from bitterness, but from purpose. Compass lesson of part 8. Solitude isn't the absence of support. It's the birth of self-sufficiency. Scorpio, this isn't about being alone forever. This is about building something strong enough that no one can take it from you again. So trust the quiet. Trust the work. Trust the vision. Even if no one sees it yet. Because one day, they'll look at what you've built and wonder how you did it. And you'll smile, knowing the answer is simple. I stopped waiting for someone to build it with me, and I became everything I needed. Scorpion Part 9. Secrets you keep for peace, when truth is too costly to speak. Not all silence is weakness. Sometimes, silence is wisdom. Sometimes, silence is protection. Scorpio, you are the keeper of secrets, not just other people's, but your own. And right now, you're carrying something you haven't shared. Not because you don't want to, but because speaking your truth might shatter the fragile peace you've built. And so, you hold it. You bury it. You wear a mask, not out of deceit, but out of necessity. Luggage the weight of the unspoken. There's something you're hiding, isn't there? It could be a desire to walk away, a plan you haven't told anyone, a truth about how disconnected you really feel, a love you can't express, or a love that's long gone. Whatever it is, you've chosen to keep it inside. Not because you're afraid, but because you know, the moment you say it out loud, everything changes. And change isn't always safe. It breaks routines. It threatens expectations. It disturbs the balance you've kept so carefully. Scorpio, your silence is not cowardice. It's calculation. Broken heart when truth risks connection. Let me tell you about Irene, a Scorpio artist in her mid-50s who stayed in a marriage for 2 decades while quietly planning her escape. She had no hate for her husband, only grief that their love had died long before the vows expired. Every morning, she smiled across the breakfast table. Every evening, she sat beside him in silence. And every night, she painted scenes of open fields, women running barefoot, rooms with no walls. She once said to me, "If I speak the truth, I'll destroy everything. But if I stay silent, I'll destroy myself." Eventually, she chose freedom, but she needed time. She needed strategy, and she needed space to feel her truth before voicing it. Scorpio's secret world. As a water sign ruled by Pluto, Scorpio lives in layers. What the world sees, what the close ones know, and the truth you never say out loud. You've likely learned the hard way that some people don't deserve your truth. They can't hold it. They twist it. They use it against you. So you've learned to keep parts of yourself hidden, not to deceive, but to survive. But Scorpio, be careful. Sometimes the walls you build to protect yourself can also become your prison. Firecracker, the risk of suppression. Not speaking your truth creates pressure. Like a sealed bottle shaken too long, eventually it will burst. In outbursts, in illness, in burnout, in unexplained sadness. Because even when your mouth is silent, your body remembers. The question is not just what are you hiding? The question is, how long can you hold it without breaking? Scorpio, the truth doesn't always need to be screamed, but it does need a release. Whether that's journaling what you can't say out loud, confiding in someone trustworthy, whispering it into a river and letting it carry the burden away. Give your truth a place to breathe. Locked secrets versus sacred silence. Not all things need to be said. Some truths are sacred, not secrets, but private truths that belong to your soul. Scorpio, part of your power is discernment. You know when to speak and when to protect your energy. So ask yourself, am I hiding this out of fear or out of wisdom? Will this truth set me free or burn everything to the ground? Can I find peace without sacrificing authenticity? Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say nothing. And sometimes the bravest thing is to say everything. Only you know which one applies today. Compass lesson of part 9. Silence can be strength, but don't let it swallow you. Your truth matters, Scorpio. Even if it shakes the ground. Even if it ends relationships. Even if no one understands. You were not born to die inside your own silence. So speak what must be spoken. Hold what must be held. Release what must be freed. And remember, the truth doesn't always need to be shouted, but it should never be buried alive. Scorpion Part 10. The Ace of Wands and the rebirth of self. Scorpio's evolution is inevitable. The fire is here. After the silence, the solitude, the sorrow, there is a spark, a divine ignition in the dark. This is the Ace of Wands, the card of creation, rebirth, and power from within. And Scorpio, this is your moment. You've walked through the tunnel. You've shed the skin. You've faced the truth. Now, the universe hands you the wand and says, go, make something new. Fire the flame that never died. Even when they doubted you. Even when you doubted yourself. Even when the silence was suffocating and the loneliness loud. There was a part of you that kept burning. A vision, a dream, a whisper that said, you were made for more. That whisper was the Ace of Wands. Not external permission, not applause, but inner ignition. And now, Scorpio, that flicker has become a flame. Seedling what is rebirth, really? Rebirth isn't just about starting over. It's about starting as someone new. You are no longer the same person who began this journey. You don't need the same people. You don't crave the same comforts. You don't fear the same endings. Why? Because you've died emotionally, maybe even spiritually, and lived to tell the story. You know now, pain was a portal, loss was a teacher, and silence was sacred. You're not broken, Scorpio. You're reforged. Railway track where the wand leads you. The Ace of Wands doesn't show the whole map. It shows the starting point. It says, create something. Begin again. You don't need all the answers. You just need the fire. If it excites your soul and scares your ego, that's the way. Maybe you'll write the book, move to a new city, start the business, end the relationship, and finally begin with yourself. Whatever it is, trust the flame. The same force that broke you is now fueling you. Glowing star, the rise of your new identity. This is no longer about survival. This is about sovereignty. You're not who you were 6 months ago. You're not even who you were last week. You've peeled back the illusions. You've said the hard goodbyes. You've stood alone and stayed true. And now, you're becoming who you were always meant to be. Not who they expected, not who they molded, but the unfiltered, unchained, fully awakened Scorpio. Dizzy, you are the wand. The Ace of Wands isn't just something being handed to you. You are the wand. You are the spark. You are the flame. You are the vessel through which divine will create miracles. All you have to do is say yes. Compass final lesson of part 10. You were never meant to stay ashes. Scorpio, you are the phoenix of the zodiac. Death is not your end. It is your fuel. So rise. Rise from the silence. Rise from the disappointment. Rise from the versions of you that no longer serve. Rise into your mission, your madness, your masterpiece. And if anyone asks where you've been, tell them, I was becoming. Now I am here. The path ahead is unwritten. The fire is in your hand. Now go and set your world ablaze. Directed call to action, spoken from the heart. If this video stirred something in you, if you recognized yourself in these words, or you simply admire the unstoppable force of Scorpio energy, then let's keep going deeper together. Glowing Star, subscribe to this channel, The Path to Buddhist Wisdom, because here, we don't just talk about astrology. We awaken ancient truths. We merge mysticism with mastery, and we honor every soul's path to greatness. Hit that bell, leave a comment, and remember, the most powerful journey is the one within.